Namaste. Ayu-Chintana. Let's grow learning Ayurveda together. March is the Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month, and to discuss this topic in the purview of Ayurveda, I am here with you. In the previous episode, we had discussed about the incidence and mortality rates of the patients of colorectal cancer across the world through the statistics of World Health Organization and International Agency for Research on Cancer. We had discovered that it is the fourth most commonest cancer in the world now, and presently it has lower risk rates in India. We had discussed about the worldwide rates in the incidence of colorectal cancer and the age standardized statistics too. There came a question: can Ayurveda really provide better yardsticks for preventing, assessing, and treating colorectal cancers? While discussing on this, assessment through Ayurveda basic principles was our motto: Hetu, Linga, and Aushadha. Among them, Hetu is the primary one, 5 steps given for that. In that, Tridosha was the first priority. While discussing about the Tridoshas, the potential risk factors given by the Johns Hopkins medicine was also considered, and we couldn't rule out the action of Vata there. In this case, we discovered that Samana Vayu and Apana Vayu had to be assessed in detail for their respective Hetu and Vyadhi. So, continuing in chapter 2 of colorectal cancer, there was an article from British journal with the title Epidemiology of Colorectal Cancer, articled by Peter Boyle and Maria Eleanor Leon from the Division of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, European Institute of Oncology. It was not a common article. It was a cancer article. That means to say it was an advanced colorectal cancer related article. And there, some sentences got my attention. Few specific risk factors of a non-dietary origin have been established for colorectal cancer. This was described under the heading of etiology. So, what are they trying to say here? They have discovered until now, that is, as of now, they have discovered the factors which are of non-dietary origin, which become the potential risk factors for colorectal cancer. Then, what about the dietary origin? They also mention that the development of colorectal cancer is a multi-step process involving the genetic mutations in mucosal cells, the activation of tumor-promoting genes, and the loss of genes which suppress the tumor formation. Do you think that it is only the non-dietary origin factors which influence the gene mutation, the activation of tumor-promoting genes, and the loss of genes which suppress the tumor formation? No, absolutely not. I don't understand why the modern science is looking only to the aspects of the non-dietary origin and not of the dietary origin. Is there any human living today without taking food? While we spend our most of the time throughout our life taking food, and there is no factor of the dietary origin which influences the cancer, it is very absurd, right? Okay, then we can understand from the Ayurveda perspective now. Modern science can explain pages of information on the constraints of age, ethnicity, genes, other diseases, and to a certain extent about the lifestyle variations which contributes to manifestation of colorectal cancer. What about dietary habits then? Doesn't that count? Or don't we have any knowledge about it? What Ayurveda contributes then? Very aptly, there is a shloka that I have quoted from Charaka Samhita Sutrasthana 28th chapter. Ahara sambhavam vastu, rogascha ahara sambhavaha. So the very first question that I raised in this episode has the answer here. They are not mentioning about the vihara. They are not mentioning about the 8 standardized or ethnicity based or gene based factors which are relating to the roga. Not just cancer. Get reminded here. It is not just about the cancer. It is about all the diseases. Rogaha, sambhavaha. So that means to say there is some commonality between the origin of ahara as well as roga. So, is ahara not contributing to roga? Is ahara not contributing to the arogya of the person? That means to say, the ahara, the dietary habits that we follow, it has a potential factor which influences to the health of the person as well as to the disease state of the person. Don't you agree with me? Yes, we all have to agree this, because the cells in the body, they take micronutrients, macronutrients, and the energy which they derive from is from the food that we take. So, if the wrong kind of energy is getting activated, then that means to say indirectly or even directly that it is wrongful food habit that we have followed is influencing on the cells badly, and it is releasing the wrong kind of mutation. I mean to say the wrong kind of messages are passed, the wrong kind of stimuli is passed. That might lead to mutation. Is this thought valid or not? It is very much valid. As we pass through the next stages of the shloka, it becomes more clear. Let's see this. Hita hita visheshacha visheshaha sukha dukkhayoh. They also say sahatvecha asahatvecha dukkhanam deha sattvayoh. What does this mean then? Ahara can be of two varieties. Students and people who are listening to this, let me remind you that it is not one kind of categorization that is there with the food. That means to say semi-solid, liquid food or solid food. There might be other category of saying the vegetarian food, the non-vegetarian kind of food. I'm not speaking about the categorization of the food like this. I'm talking in the perspective of medical point of view. That means to say from the body's point of view, from the health point of view, there can be a categorization which is made. Okay? In this categorization, there can be only two types of food. One is favorable food, the other one is unfavorable food. This favorability is related to the body, is related to the health of the body. It is not favorable to you as a person. Okay? So, favorable to the health of the body, unfavorable to the health of the body. This is hita ahara, ahita ahara. So, what this favorable food does to the body? It brings sukha. That means to say it maintains the homeostasis. Right? The homeostasis of the body is maintained. It's regular. It's continuously regular. It is continuously healthy. This is hita ahara, the favorable food. What does the unfavorable food do then? It brings a disturbance. It erupts a disturbance in the body. It may cause the disease. Right? Then there is a further step which Acharya is speaking. Sahatvecha asahatvecha dukkhanam deha sattvayoho. So now we established the fact that dukkha, one variety of the roga, is being established. Where are they getting established? They have two abodes. One is deha, the other one is manas. Right? So, deha dukkha and manasika dukkha. We established two factors now. So, how does the body respond when there is something which is given to the body is unfavorable to it? At first, it might reject. Right away it rejects. This is unfavorable to me. So, for example, when you take too much of fried foods, what the body does? It might throw out the contents in the form of vomitus, or as in like the loose motions can be passed. So, it throws out the unwanted, the unfavorable thing which we have taken inside the body. Right? This is a primary mechanism. So, what is the secondary mechanism? That means to say, though the body is throwing it out, we as humans, we are not considering it. We like it and we still continue taking it, which is still unfavorable to the body. that kind of dietary input which is given to the body, how should the body respond to it? At first, it can reject, then, after some time, through continuous practice of the unfavorable foods, the body tries to change its mechanism. It tries to get adjusted to the unfavorable food, but still, we continued. It is still unfavorable to the health of the body. Then, what happens? The normal functioning of the body itself will change, and it might lead to the establishment of a disease. So, this is what happens. So, why are we not thinking the dietary habits will actually be the cause for the genetic mutations can happen? Right? This can be a potential cause, and there is a wide scope of research with this field. So now we understood that ahara, the dietary habit, the dietary factors play a very important role in playing as a potential risk factor for any disease. And in this context, it is colorectal cancer. This becomes more evident as we go through the further lines of the shloka. Vishesho rogasanghascha dhatuja ye prutak prutak. Many dhatugata disorders can happen. Right? Dhatugata includes every other srotas that is there in the body. And there can be koshtagata vyadi, shakhagata vyadi. All these can happen. So if I am considering the colorectal cancer as one kind of koshtagata vyadi, so for this also that there are dietary implications. So now do you understand that dietary factors play a very important role, and the modern science is yet to establish this fact on a black and white paper. But Ayurveda didn't fall behind. It is always saying that the dietary practices are so very important to maintain the normalcy, and if not done properly, it leads to the disease. In the previous episode, we had discussed that Vata plays a very important role in causing the cancer. What is the Karya Kshetra of the Vata with respect to this cancer? It was Samana and Apana Vayu. So here I am discussing about the wrongful dietary habits which can disturb the normal functioning of Samana Vayu as well as Apana Vayu. Let's understand this. While coming to the context of Samana Vayu, there are 4 etiological factors: Vishama Bhojana, Ajirna Bhojana, Shita Bhojana, and Sankirna Bhojana. So what are these? Vishama Bhojana. Vishama Bhojana means the food is taken at that time when actually there is no proper hunger which is established. Either it is previously to the, that means to say it is before to the hunger phase, or it can be post-hunger phase. If the food is taken at these 2 extreme points, then it is Vishama Bhojana. At these times, there can be little food which is taken or more quantity of food is taken that might lead to the disturbance of Samana Vayu. And this is a potential risk factor. It can vary, the wide range of diseases can happen from a smallest of indigestion to the largest of the cancers. Ajirna Bhojana. Food taken when the previously consumed food is still in the mid of digestion. Then there is Shita Bhojana, taking chilled, cold, refrigerated foods. Or there is an established shloka saying Hladanaha, Stambhanaha, Shito, Murcha Trut Svedadahajit. With all these gunas, if such a food is there and you're consuming this in large quantity on a continuous basis, on a regular basis for a very long time, this is causing a disruption in the normalcy of Samana Vayu functioning. Then there is Sankirna Bhojana as well. Further, we are understanding about the Apana Vayu. Here, the Aharaja Nidana is Ruksha Anna Bhojana and Guru Anna Bhojana. What can Ruksha Anna Bhojana bring into the body? How is it unfavorable to the body? So, it causes Stambhanaha and Kharaha. As we all know, Vata is the driving force for all the other Tridoshas in the body, for all the other Dhatus and Malas in the body. So, for every other dosha, dhatu and mala to be in their normal functioning capacity, Vata is the driving force. Vata is the controller. So if something is inhibiting the Vata from its normal functioning, one such example is Ruksha Anna. What it does? One, it causes dryness, too much of dryness in the body, so that vata cannot move properly. And one more is stambhana. It causes some kind of obstruction for the vata to move on. So these two factors become potential risks for disturbance of apanavayu, further causing wide range of diseases. Of course, in it, one is cancer. Then Guru Anna. Sadopalepa balakrit Guru Santarpana Brahmanaha. So some of the lifestyle variations that we have done in the present era, the sedentary lifestyle, taking too much of over nutritious food which the body is not demanding but still we are giving, as well as which is very heavy for digestion, which will stop the normal functioning of the three doshas, right? These kind of dietary habits are directly influencing, mind it is directly influencing the risk factors. It is directly influencing the risk factors which establishes cancer further. So, with the article that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode said, the development of colorectal cancer is a multi-step process involving the genetic mutation in mucosal cells. So, the activation of tumor-promoting genes and loss of genes which suppress the tumor formation. By this, we understand, with little bit knowledge of the modern science, we understand these are a type of chronic inflammatory process that goes on in the body. It's not a one-day process. Am I right? The gene mutation is not a one-day process. It requires triggering of those genes on a very long run, or that triggering factor should be so much severe that it can bring about a genetic mutation in a second. So there can only be two things that can happen. One is continuous wrongful doing, or other one is in such severity, right? So don't you think that the wrongful dietary habits can make this? Of course it can make this, because each cell derives its energy from the food. If the food input itself is wrong, every input that the cell gets is wrong. Every hormone that is released in the body is wrong. Every other sympathetic chain that releases the synapses goes wrong. Then is it not a potential factor which is causing a mutation? Is it not a potential factor that is causing the activation of tumor-promoting genes which should not have happened? Or the loss of genes which suppress the tumor formation? These are all the wrongful stimuli which are released from the body, right? So this way, through Ayurveda, as Ayurveda Vaidyas, we are establishing a fact that it is not just the non-dietary origin that is having something to do with the colorectal cancer. It is the dietary factor which does the wrongful things. So, this doesn't mean that Ayurveda is ignorant about the variations in other aspects apart from Ahara and Vihara. In different contexts, concepts have been explained. Let us not fail in inculcating them, else let's apply the principles wherever necessary. One of them, like for example, the concepts from Vyadhi Samudeshiya Adhyaya of Sushruta Samhita Sutrasthana. Let us take up these things in the further episodes. And I would also like to discuss with you all the information from the lifestyle factors as well. Right? So, for more content, keep watching Ayu-Chintana. Let's grow learning Ayurveda together. If you think that the video was knowledgeable, do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Ayu-Chintana.